So recently we've been witnessing Ripple talking quite a bit about the UK market. Now, obviously, yes, they do mention the Euro market as well. But the UK market is very interesting from the point of view of many things that Ripple is currently, doing right now. Specifically, we talk about stablecoins because of the FX market. And I do think that that should be a big focus right now, especially if you do hold XRP. And the reason why, well, we're going to dive into it here in a second, but first, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So let's actually dive on into this. Let's start off first with the UK policy summit that they did hold last week. Now, I did put a spotlight on this shortly on the channel, but the reason why I'm bringing this back up is because of what they explored, which was regulations, stablecoins, and tokenization. These were the three main topics. Now, the number one thing that I'm actually looking at here is stablecoins, because it kind of mixes in with tokenization anyways, because what stablecoins are is tokenized fiat currency. The US dollar, for an example, is already on chain. But we also know that, Ripple is not shy to the UK market and even the EU market. They've been expanding around the UK for a very long time. I think that their original office in the UK got announced back in like 2016. So they have been in and around the UK market for a very, very long time. But this one was around cross-border payments within the UK and even the EU. And we also know that they did highlight that they actually represent more than 90% of the global FX market. Now, I bring up the UK because of what the UK actually represents around that market. We have over here that London is the financial hub of Europe and the largest forex trading center in the world. The city has a long history of financial innovation and is home to some of the world's largest banks, investment firms, and even forex brokers. The London forex market accounts for more than 40% of the daily trading volume in the forex market, which makes it the most liquid market in the world. Not to mention that the FX market itself, aka the forex market, is a $7.5 trillion per day market. We have over here Ripple's enterprise payments proposition, key offerings from Ripple Payments, formerly known as RippleNet, where they do have the global FX market coverage 90% already tapped in. And even over here, we do have from the BIS's website. This goes all the way back to 2022. We don't actually have an updated view of this just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if the FX market was even more today, but turnover in global foreign exchange markets reached $7.5 trillion per day in April 2022 in a volatile market. And I'm pretty sure that you all know that since 2022, volatility hasn't really cooled off. In fact, volatility has picked up in a big way since 2022. And that really kind of makes me think that $7.5 trillion per day, it might already be a lot more than $7.5 trillion per day. But also, this is coming from the BIS, the same BIS that does have Ripple on the CPMI board around cross-border payment initiatives, but also the same BIS that has been pushing tokenization and the Finternet, aka the Internet of Value. But on top of that, I do want to go over here to this post here from Anderson, because this is where I do think we start to kind of see the big picture. Because what have I been mentioning when it comes to the stablecoin side of Ripple for a very long time? I've been saying that it's not just going to be RLUSD. We are going to see multiple stablecoins. And I do think that this confirms just that. We have here from Anderson, seems Ripple may launch other stablecoins in the future by looking at a new job offering under product marketing lead stablecoin. Shape and drive our product and go to market GTM strategies with a specific focus on Ripple USD and other possible Ripple stablecoins. And here we actually have the job offering. And then over here, we do have an other possible Ripple stablecoins. This is very interesting. Now, on top of this, there was a response to Anderson, which did say they're completely moving away from XRP, it seems. I predict it will be non-existent in the near future. A lot of people have this idea when it comes to, stablecoin initiatives on Ripple, but I want you guys to think about this logically, okay? The FX market is a $7.5 trillion per day market. Ripple already has RLUSD under its belt. If we start to see other possible Ripple stablecoins launching on Ripple, which, by the way, we think about the underlying networks that RLUSD is already on. So Ethereum and the XRPL. If we start to see the FX market become a reality on the XRP ledger, on Ethereum, on multi-chain, we'll just say multi-chain, okay? Think about what this does for the XRPL and those underlying networks, but also think about the use case for XRP. Bridge currency. Remember that? Yeah, that's the OG use case for XRP. It's always been a bridge currency. A lot of people called it the reserve bridge currency. Ripple has highlighted many times over, and I still remember the original CBDC video that they had on their website. They want to position XRP as the bridge currency between CBDCs and, in this case, stablecoins. It's the perfect bridge currency to bridge all stablecoins. Thinking like this is so far from the target, in my opinion. Now, Anderson did say definitely not. First of all, stablecoins were always part of the plan. That's why the XRP ledger was the first public blockchain with tokenization. Secondly, RLUSD exists on the XRP ledger, which drives volume to the ledger. XRP has specific properties that issued assets lack on the XRP ledger, which makes it the natural bridge asset on the ledger. Then we have the overall hypocrisy of this market. When stablecoins are issued on Ethereum, nobody says stablecoins makes Ethereum irrelevant. It's only when it comes to the XRP ledger people make this comment. And I completely agree. I don't understand this whole idea of how, XRP is useless now because of RLUSD. If that was the case, then XRP would be useless because there's USDT or USDC. And the same goes for every other asset in the space. Investing in Ethereum? Why would you when you could just invest into a stable coin? I mean, these arguments are just kind of comical. But we also have, then Ripple has a huge financial incentive to make XRP successful since they would become extremely wealthy. So for purely financial reasons, they have zero incentives to move away from XRP. And I completely agree with this statement. Now, on top of this, right, I bring this up and I talk about this confirmation now because this is coming from Ripple talking about how they, are potentially looking at other possible stablecoins on Ripple. I look at this and I go back to my post from December when I said this was always the plan. Because again, this highlights the utility of XRP between stablecoins. Because I do believe that every single one of these fiat currencies on this list will be tokenized on chain. And you know what's crazy about this? We already have a confirmation of the Brazilian real, so we could scratch that one off. We know that the USV stablecoin is coming to the XRP ledger, so we could cross off Euro as well. We know that RLUSD is already on the ledger, so we could cross out USD. And we have here from the Digital Pound Foundation, RLGBP has a nice ring to it. So now we have 4 out of these on this list. So we have 4 out of the 8 already tapped in. So think about that. That's actually kind of crazy. And then we also think about the connections that Ripple does have to Japan. And all of a sudden, JPY also becomes one that's, could be very close to being announced. So think about how close we are to this image becoming a reality right now. But on top of that, I want to take us back to December when Mr. Man XRP also posted this, where Brad Garlinghouse kind of hinted at this image becoming a reality as well, where Brad Garlinghouse stated that Ripple will utilize their own products, RLUSD, and hints again at RLJPY, the yen, right? And then RL Euro. Ripple Net ecosystem is being built right in front of our eyes. The conversation for Ripple is shifting back to payments. And check it out.
That. Are you going to be using that in your own products? How will it compare with XRP?
We absolutely will be using our own products. A little bit of history on this. Ripple has for years used stablecoins, U.S. dollar stablecoins, in certain corridors, depending upon which currency pairs we're dealing with, customer we're enabling, and frankly, sometimes it has been more efficient. And so we've used Tether in certain circumstances. We've used USDC. In fact, at one point, we were responsible for minting 20% of all USDC. And we kind of realized that there's an opportunity in the market as it continues to grow to, particularly for our customer set around, institutions. We felt like it was an opportunity for us to jump in. Look, I think the as you look at the road ahead around stablecoins, I think the market's going to continue to grow a lot. I mean, I think when we decided to launch a stablecoin, it was probably about $120 billion market. Today, I think it's just shy of 200 billion. And some smart analysts forecast it's going to be a couple trillion in 5 more years. So I think the market is going to continue to grow for sure. Right now, the U.S. dollar is by far the most important stable coin, but I think you will see some activity in euro, maybe in yen. We shall see how far down that goes. But look, our goal is to make sure that the XRP ledger is the most efficient, the most trusted, the most utility, and having a stablecoin on the XRPL that is robust, efficient, reputable. Ripple has worked with institutions for years now, and I think we have a very trusted brand. And look, we also have a very large balance sheet that we think, if needed, could be helpful in making the RLUSD or Ripple USD successful.
Just on the
So yeah, I do think that this is exactly on point with what we have been witnessing from Ripple, especially over the last couple weeks and months. They have been celebrating stablecoin legislation in a huge way. They've been talking about stablecoins around the UK market as well. We also know that the Digital Pound Foundation recently talked about how, pound stablecoins could back and actually support the UK government in terms of their economy. So when we think about stablecoin initiatives, they're only heating up in a bigger way. A lot of the big institutional infrastructure players, like for example, Fireblocks, have actually been putting a big focus on stablecoins disrupting the FX market as well, which is, again, like all of this kind of just feels so aligned. And it's something that, we have been speculating on this channel. We've been talking about it. And I think that today we should be talking about this more and more as the stablecoin initiatives start to pick up in a big way. I mean, even in the US, we know that the Stable Act just became a big deal because this has now been like fully passed through, and this is actually setting a regulatory framework for payment stablecoins that will protect innovation and consumers. So again, the US is 100% ready to modernize the payment system utilizing the stablecoins, which they even say here works to modernize the US payment system. But this is a big one because this is a client actually of Fireblocks talking about the FX market. This is Nonco. And we have Fireblocks client and digital asset trading firm Nonco thinks so with on-chain FX and automated stablecoin rails. They're cutting costs and transforming cross-border payments. So, if we're thinking about what's really going on here, we are starting to see the big shift in the FX market. And I think that this is something that everyone should be looking at because this isn't just trillions of dollars. I mean, just do the math real quick. $7.5 trillion per day. Guys, it's well over $2 quadrillion per year that's moved through the FX market. And this is something that's been talked about heavily over the last couple of years. And even recently in like November, we know that Citi and Fidelity International combined money market fund tokenization with FX swaps. Because again, we already know that the FX market is very inefficient because it's reliant upon the same technology as the payment system. So when we think about what's plaguing these markets, it's all of the same inefficiencies that we are all aware of if you have been following, what Ripple's been trying to solve for years now. So why wouldn't we tokenize this? Why wouldn't we bring this on chain? And stablecoins are the perfect tool to actually bring the FX market on chain. And what better player now in this space than Ripple to actually focus on this at a time where they've been looking at this plan for years now? I mean, this image itself is, I think, from a 2017, 2018 PDF file. It might even be earlier, like 2016. But it's becoming a reality now. And this is why I've always stated that, even though some things might seem like they're taking a long time, to revolutionize a market that is $7.5 trillion per day, I don't care how long that takes, as long as it happens, within the next like 10 years. I know that a lot of people will say, well, I don't have 10 years, and I don't think that you need 10 years. I'm just saying that this is just one market. Everything else is happening so much faster. Like real estate tokenization is becoming a reality. The stock market tokenization is becoming a reality. Bonds, treasuries, like all of this stuff happening now will lead to the value of XRP rising significantly over the coming, weeks, months, and even years ahead. I'm just more so just throwing out a conservative time frame on when I believe that the FX market is going to be hitting on chain. But I think that it happens a lot sooner. I'm just trying to be very conservative with my time frame here because I don't want to be overly bullish. But at the end of the day, tokenization and stablecoins themselves are a hot topic right now. I mean, even JP Morgan did say back in March that they predict yield-bearing stablecoins could grow from 6% to 50% of the market, driven by rising demand for interest-bearing assets. And this is coming from one of the biggest banks out there that's so bullish on stablecoins as well. Every single major institutional player is bullish on stablecoins, and it's for a reason. And the reason is that stablecoins are already moving trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars per year, rivaling Visa, MasterCard, even PayPal. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because I'm a free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.